joining our first series of talks. It's called FairLeads, a dual meaning, obviously, but the idea is to actually bring in fair leads to our startups and to our clients, companies, or our contacts. So that's the idea. The session is dedicated to the seafarer, so we obviously this series of talks are dedicated to the seafarer, and we are bringing in companies and founders that are focusing on bringing technology to enhance manning, human resource, human capital in the blue and ocean economy. I find it fitting that we have three seafarers. Dimitris is ex-Greek Navy. Adil is a seafarer. I was a seafarer for 12 years. So it's fitting that we are seafarers talking about the future of technology in this space. So nothing more fitting than starting our series of talks with three seafarers about seafarers.
I'm not really a seafarer, but I'm a naval architect and marine engineer. I've done my
Plenty of sea stories, though.
I'm not even remotely close to you two guys.
I'm sure you got your fair share of sea stories, though, Dimitri.
Well, that's a separate informal conversation we all have to have. But yes, so yeah, marine startups. Like I said, the vision was Dimitris Service. He's a brilliant innovator, marine architect, naval architect, software engineer. He's based in Switzerland. He aimed to make a platform that was a global platform for the ocean economy and a community first, and then an innovation center for startups and entrepreneurs alike. He's been instrumental in bringing in the team together for marine startups that is as of today. So we all call ourselves co-founders thanks to Dimitris. The first one needs no introduction to you, Dr. Christopher Clot. He's an academician. He's taught Adil as well in Maritime College in the United States. He's been associated with a lot of esteemed colleges in the United States. The second gentleman is Mr. Prithvi Puttaraju. He's a serial tech entrepreneur with focus on data science. He's got an obsessive love for everything that is blue economy and ocean economy. He's in fact has his own AI platform startup called SalesSmart, which is focusing on kind of analyzing real-time data using his own in-house AI and ML engine to then predict voyage, basically give out better voyage and vessel optimization for the vessel owners and the stakeholders alike. I'm Captain Rahul Damodaran. I'm a seafarer. I've got an obsessive need to technologize anything that is maritime, anything that I do, but obviously anything maritime. I've sailed for 12 years and been associated since then, since I left sea with various industries in building startups, nurturing, mentoring them. But obviously via this medium, via our company, Marine Startups, that has helped me focus my experience that I had in the other industries and the energies that I was able to accumulate from there and focus it on the maritime tech space, and that's the genesis of how we came together. In marine startups, we believe that the startup ecosystem is right now very opaque, and it's kind of it's guided by the needs of a very few handful of stakeholders. So that kind of a unidirectional approach kind of favors incremental innovation and stifles the progress, is what we believe, in an industry that is in very much need of technology innovation, like our industry. So we said, okay, we are the solution. We're going to be open, transparent, open to entrepreneurs, innovators, transparent to our investors and clients, so that there's a very transparent interaction between both these stakeholders. And in due time, we look to bring in our own funding and trading platform as well, and to then hopefully have our own incubator arm that we can then help startups that we are associated with and industry agnostic to kind of then incubate from there and then help springboard from there. So that is Marine Startups in short. I'd like to kind of shift focus to you, Adil, to your company, to your young company, and It's got an amazing name as well, Tenure. But I'd like to shift focus to you, and so that you can take it from there and introduce your company.
Looking for a complete ecosystem for your maritime organization? Are you looking to ditch the spreadsheet and automate your credential management? Tenure Dashboard makes it easy to stay organized and on top of your workforce credentials, alleviating compliance pain points. We're a marketplace that connects our unique maritime professional network with maritime enterprise organizations. Tenure Mobile gives maritime professionals the ability to track credentials and sea time. They're alerted of any credentials that are set to expire and stay on top of their credential renewals worry-free. Organizations are able to add maritime professionals to their network, giving them the ability to view their employees' credentials on the Tenure Dashboard. The Tenure Dashboard also makes finding new talent very easy. The hiring and onboarding process is as simple as posting the jobs on the dashboard, allowing Tenure's qualified candidates to apply for the job, verify all applicants' credentials and qualifications, transitioning hired applicants to an employee. Now all the users' credentials are securely synced to your dashboard using our blockchain technology for automated compliance management. Contact us today and see how Tenure can help save you time and relieve the headaches of manual credential management.
And just a quick introduction there with Tenure. Tenure, it is a play on words, as you saw. So we chose the name due to it's in the maritime industry as seafarers. You work your way up the ranks. True. And so we thought it would be a very fitting term for what we're striving for, what our goals are. And so who we are, we're actually a bunch of friends from the Maritime Academy. And three out of us, we actually were classmates back in the day. And two of us were deck officers and one was a marine engineer. And the idea pretty much stemmed about us going through our renewal process of our credentialing. And so we just happened to just talk at the right time and complaining about the processes and how much effort it is to go through all the different certificates. And we kind of thought, you know what, maybe we can actually do something with this. And this is how Tenure was born. That was the genesis of the idea. And so we're based in Los Angeles, one of the co-founders, and we are a team of 5. And the idea of our product solution is that we have developed and we are developing a trusted maritime network to better help professionals communicate with the organizations and vice versa. In a lot of our own experiences, we realized that there's a lot of disconnect. There's a lot of just friction between verifying and validating credentials, sharing something, getting some sea time letters, just very generic things that happen on, with any seafarer.
True.
And so our solution is pretty much twofold. For the seafarers, for the maritime professionals themselves, we've developed a mobile application, and it's a free mobile app. It's on Android, it's on Apple, and it's a place where the professional can safely and securely store the credentials. They are validated, and that they can share their unique skills and their credentials with any employers that they speak with. At the same time, we're working toward more of a social component there, where the network can grow and individuals can communicate with each other, keep track of the news. A big part was also sea time tracking. And we wanted to put the power back into the hands of the seafarers. And of course, for their own tenure in their careers, a place for them to view job vacancies and seek those opportunities. So on top, to complete this ecosystem is for the organizations. And we have created a dashboard. And this dashboard is where the employer can actually request access to that professional's profile. So whether it's the sea time, it's their experiences, their skills, their credentials already being verified, validated. They can now use this information with no friction, no data entry, no submitting scanned copies of anything. and use it to assess whether it's a new applicant, the talent, and also with the compliance, right? You want to make sure that your crews, your employees are addressing and under compliance with the federal regulatory body that that oversees them. So that's the gist of how the genesis came about of who we are. You know, the ironic thing too is it's that time of the year for me. I have to renew my own credentials, and so I'm using the technology myself to kind of help me get there.
Awesome. So there's already practical applications to it.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. There's something we seafarers all across the world. I mean, I have Indian credentials and I've got UK credentials, and it's a nightmare maintaining those. So I completely get what you're addressing in the software. Yeah.
Yeah, that is another area where we're just getting into right now. We're currently launched in the US, Canada, and the Philippines. India is our next geography area of launching. And with India, with a lot of places, the UK, there is always the certificate of equivalencies, right? You get some Malta, you get a Panamanian flags. So we're now going to start addressing those where the equivalency, it matches up with the original, but then also to assist those seafarers who have binders to stick full of their certificates and kind of just make that whole process much easier for them.
Yeah, I completely get that. Do you want me to go ahead and play the video now so that we have a gist of what the product is?
Yeah, no, please. I apologize. I didn't hear the audio, so I didn't know if there was just something there, but I think that'd be great.
Okay. Were you not able to hear the audio?
I did not personally. I don't know, Dimitri, if you were able to hear it.
I just saw an image for a second and then it disappeared.
Okay, so then let's not go
try
down that path. It could be a technical glitch. So anyway, so you've given a gist of the product. I want to know, you know, what. So was this particular type of innovation that you were trying to address here? Was it some kind of innovation that you were looking at, or you've just taken a problem statement and then applied it to an existing platform? Is it something that you've generated directly from scratch? I mean by the app and the backend and things like that.
Yeah, no, great question. This is all by scratch. I'm totally blessed to have a really great team of co-founders. Like I mentioned, three of us are from the Maritime Academy. Malcolm, he's our CTO. He was a marine engineer, and after about a few years of working in Maritime, he made a switch to go into software development, and he's been doing that for over a decade. So he's really been a huge factor in the development of the idea, coming from a vision and splattered onto a wireframe, you know, on pieces of paper. And we have additional talent from our front-end designer and our head of design as well that are really making this thing come together. So this was a completely new, made from scratch idea with the mobile application, with the dashboard. So a lot of learnings along the way of technology and how to apply it in a more maritime-based environment and what would make sense and not be too complicated. So that was one of the biggest factors, that something was so easy that anyone could simply say, oh, hey, I discovered something. This is something for me in my career. And the step-by-step processes are totally frictionless.
Perfect. And what do you think were the challenges when the idea was incubated? Let's say it was with one of you, and then then you must have discussed, and then the kind of idea incubated amongst the team, and then went on to a viable product. How do you think that journey went on, and how long did it take?
Yeah, so we actually went from the start of the idea to our first launch, and this just coincidentally happened during when COVID happened. So a lot of us were from home, and within 1 year, actually just short of a year, we were able to launch the product on the iOS, the application itself. And as a start, I think one of the biggest challenges was trying to pinpoint what are the most basic essential pieces of information for a seafarer when it comes to pretty much managing your credentials, right? So we got to kind of think about how I did it, how my other co-founders who have sailed themselves, what their processes were, and kind of come up with this this general consensus that this makes the most sense. These are very core essential pieces to that. And of course, we have a lot of friends in the industry. We got a lot of their feedback to understand what would be helpful for them. What did they struggle with on their manual, notepads when they're on board, when they're watches. And so we applied a lot of that feedback in the first version of what we provided, and essentially that seemed to set the core. And as any new team, you kind of have to align in your vision. And so that's what I think took the most time, and I think it was the most valuable part, that we synced up and we said, you know what, this is exactly how we all envision it equally. We feel that this is going to be beneficial, because I personally see the value. If I was a mariner and I came across this app, I would be like, damn, I wish I had this myself at some point.
True. I mean, we were certainly, the whole idea of all of us being here is the industry lacks serious technology innovation and technology access as well. So you've completely spot on that. Do you think you have maybe not worldwide, or even in your geographical area that you've started? Let's say you said US, UK, Philippines. Do you see other competitors? Are there other companies in this space, other startups or established companies in this space?
So that's a great question. So it's Canada, Philippines, and the US. And from what we've researched, there are some companies that are dabbling in this space. It seems that a lot of the innovation that they're doing is still more as it is and has it always been, with scanning documents, having a digital copy. There are, of course, other companies out there that focus a lot more on the operations of, say, the vessels, right, with the JHAs and logs, etc. And it's still very manual, that there's not a great two-way communication sync between, say, a vessel and the crew, and then the office itself and the administrative tasks that go beyond that. So it's there in a sense. However, it still lacks that efficiency. There's no need to have data entry these days. If the maritime industry is evolving, a lot of focus that I personally feel has been on those big ticket items, right? It's been the digital twin. It's how do we make port movements more efficient, and it's those sexy big dollar signs. And throughout all of that, it's been great. It's gotten the maritime industry on the scene for innovation. But unfortunately, I feel that the personnel themselves, they just haven't been given much of a thought. How do we make their lives easier? And so that was a big factor of when we set out to do, was just say, you know what, we go through your career, build your tenure. We want everyone to be successful and have the right information in front of them so that they can be successful. But competitor-wise, we do feel that we are offering a much better value prop compared to what they can offer, and something that's the most easiest transition that can possibly occur if any organization was hesitant to, bring on a new system. Sure. We are, of course, SaaS-based, so scalability is totally easy. The UX, the UI it's very user-friendly. It's very simple and minimalism. So we felt that this is going to be something that can be adopted much easier than something that's more of a complicated SAP system, for example.
True. So I'm guessing. I mean, this is without downloading the app, without knowing anything about the system, I'm going to say, is it
I gotta get you on it first.
But I've already gone through. But let's say I've not. I've already gone through the app. I've downloaded the app. I'm one of those downloads, by the way. So let's say is the target market still the seafarer or the mariner, or do you think you can then reverse integrate and then offer it to shipping companies, manning companies, people in the HR space in the maritime industry? Is that something you look to offer, or is that something you already have in your timeline?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. So all the above, really. For the time being, it made sense for us to start at the seafarer level, because when we talk about who has or possesses the most credentials, it's a seafarer, right? Any rank, whether you're deck, engine, steward's department, a lot of those SCCWs, a lot of those domestic certs, they come into play. They all have their own unique expiration dates and requirements. And so it made the most sense to cater to that target first. Then on the other side, when you talk about the ports, the terminals, trucking companies, they're all licensed individuals. And the ultimate vision of what we're striving for is for tenure to be the leader for those credentialed professionals. So, if it's another industry, we would love to eventually get towards those industries and kind of offer that same value. But like you mentioned, for manning and HR, a lot of what they do on their day-to-day with putting them on the right ships, validating them, ensuring that their credentials are valid during their contracts, that they don't lapse. When you talk about training centers, you have to consider all these factors. And so we see a very moment to say, hey, this can absolutely improve your own administrative tasks, reduce your workload, and even cost-wise, for me and another co-founder, Hamza, during our experience, we have taken roles where we had to hire individuals. So we've also been in those shoes, and we realized that the cost factor, the time factor, it's out of this world. And a lot of the discussions we have with a lot of organizations, we're talking 100+ hours just to gather information, and that time is money, right? And so we want to be able to also say, we can reduce the cost for talent acquisition. So for those departments at the manning sides, on the HR sides, it's also a no-brainer. It's just we want to make sure that the data, it's there. It just has to be organized and communicated in a really efficient manner.
Yeah, no, I
So basically, sorry to jump in, Raul,
no, please.
Also to understand. So Adil, your monetization model is basically in the departments that are doing the manning, right?
Yeah. So yeah, our monetization model is for at the organization level, right? So whether it is a manning agency or some employer that's hired some type of credentialed employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adil, I was getting at so you said you were in operation for now 8 months. Am I correct?
Yes. So we have been in operation. So I would say about 9 months now since our launch from the first app, and now we've also launched on the Android platform, and as well as for the enterprise. That dashboard is live on the website.
Awesome. So I want to know. This is for people looking at entrepreneurs, looking at entrepreneurs like you starting. Do you think was there a significant change on what you had on paper or as an idea? Is there a version difference from when you launched 8 months back and today? Was there a significant change in the product? Was there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still have it. I will never delete it. And I remember this is my first startup. It's been a passion project from the get-go, and it's something that I just thought, having experienced a lot of these things, it made sense to start. And I remember thinking in my head, okay, what is a wireframe? I didn't even know what that meant. So I had to Google it, research it, and that's something that Malcolm was really guiding us, right, in saying, this is how development works. You etch it out to your vision. And so it's this really ugly drawing, a lot of boxes, and it says credentials and it says seat time. And we started with that. And we thought, you know what, that's perfect. That's everything we need to have. It matches everything that caters to the credentialing book. And then we started really thinking more about and having more conversations with our friends at first, testing it with them, and the bugs that came about. But then ultimately the platform itself, we're like, you know what? You're not always going to be looking at your credentials for compliance, etc., all the time. You know, what else could a maritime professional need just to stay aware of the industry, or at least keep them engaged of what other opportunities there are? So that's where the whole kind of social aspect was born as well. And we wanted to say, you know what, if this is career focused, tenure focused, well, we need to incorporate somewhere where there's job access and visibility into the job market. And in a lot of our research, we discovered a lot of job boards themselves, minus manning agencies, they are very outdated. They are months old posts. They are either inactive, but they are still being displayed. And we didn't want dirty data to be there, because it created a big false sense of hope for those who are like, you know, I hate doing what I do. I want to try something new. And we wanted to make sure that we really cater to that. And so we ensure that the data is clean, they are valid, they are active jobs. For organizations themselves who want to post, we have the ability to allow them to post vacancies so that the individuals can say, you know, oh, cool, this company's hiring, let me look into them. And then that whole ecosystem can fit in at some point. So that it has evolved dramatically. And so even right now we have the news feed, and that itself, it's very nice to have, because yes, there are really good publications, but you know, as you started, right, the maritime industry is just, it's going through revolution. And for those that think that they're not going to be impacted by technology, it's sadly mistaken, but it's a great way for them to at least stay engaged, just understand what's happening in general. So we want to push that education, that knowledge at the same time to a lot of the professionals out there.
Perfect. You know, this thought, is there any kind of a verification method? So let's say, for example, you said that you know, everything is there. I mean, right now we've pretty much digitized most of credentials and that space. I mean, it's happening in places like India, where there's a massive database of seafarers. We pretty much go put in a number and you're able to get verified documents. So have you kind of been able to tie up with the back end of, let's say, I'm using names I know, MCA UK, MPA Singapore, the Mercantile Marine Department in India. I'm guessing USCG is the one that approves documentation there. So do you have some kind of back-end verification that, let's say, when you want to monetize it with manning companies and, you know, those kind of agencies, is there something that they, you know, they just go and they already know it's verified by a certain back-end authority, let's say the USCG or Transport Canada, if I'm not mistaken, in Canada?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it hit the money there, right? I mean, the IMO oversees a lot of the SCCW, and so there is this central database, and every country has some of their own unique types of systems to where these documents are stored. Now, you know, we know governments move rather slowly, and so when it comes to innovation, it's not really their top priority. But the data exists. So when it comes to verifying, validating them, then the source is there to say, you know, these are authentic verifications of a professional, that we're not just saying, oh, okay, yeah, they uploaded a credential. It looks fine to us, stamped it. No, we are actually stating that, you know, based on the federal regulatory body that oversees this credential, it is in fact a valid, active, there are no other issues with this. So that then from there, we then have what we call a tenure badge, a verification badge. And that's a trigger to say for an organization to say tenure has validated this credential, and then we give it our stamp of approval. So that kind of helps facilitate, there is a federal approval backend that has been already accomplished, and that we ourselves have already given our badge of compliance, you can call it.
All right, perfect. Yeah, that sounds good for a start. I think till
Yeah.
till the governments actually innovate and kind of give us the backend API or things like that.
I know.
But so how big is the team now? Is it still you, 5 of you, the 5 founders, or have you augmented the team to add in professionals in that sense?
Yeah, no, it's still just 5 of us. Initially it was 3, and we realized, we're not that talented, so we have to keep coming in and really build the team. So we got a great sense of, we're a full minority team, which is the best thing for us. Also, at the same time, we have so many different experiences and backgrounds, so it really helps make the product like that much more cool whenever we work on it and just hear each other's perspectives. We're just for 5 right now. We are focused on our product market fit at this time and generating revenue. So we've really upped our game for the marketing and sales, and that is currently ongoing. And we've been lucky enough that we've been bootstrapping this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't gone out to seek funding, because we really don't need to, as our monthly expenses are rather really low, fortunately. But of course, to kind of scale up and grow, eventually we want to, seek out funding and kind of go to the next step in our growth.
True. Yeah, that was my next question. But
Yeah.
if you're okay to share with us, what was the bootstrapping? I mean, was it difficult on you guys? One, to start off with, being addressing ongoing budding entrepreneurs. One, that. Second is you say that you've kept it very nimble and very light on its feet right now. So is that something that is advantageous to you right now, that you're able to actually run it? And third is, if you are okay with sharing it, what was the amount? I mean, what have you bootstrapped it till now? And how are you managing your present revenues, and are you generating revenue as of right now is also a question.
Right. Yeah, no, great question. So like with our expenses, it's rather low, and that's a huge part in the co-founding team, right? We have these talented individuals in the tech and the design space with Lamy, who is our head of design, Pete, who is our front end engineer, and Malcolm, of course, who's our CTO. Hamza and I, we're more on the business team, you can say. And so a lot of the efforts have just been pretty much in-house. We didn't really need to say, we got to go outsource and find some developers, because those are really big ticket items. And so honestly, like when it comes to just general subscriptions for some verifications, et cetera, it's not that much money per month. So whenever we bootstrap, we split it evenly amongst ourselves and kind of take care of the bills that way. So that's been a huge blessing for us. Maybe when we talk about the marketing, the sales, ads are very expensive, unfortunately. It's a big sucker of it, and also the time to have these conversations. And so, if we are to explore funding, then we're not really sure what we want to go with. We would love to start at, if it's something, a very attractive offer, absolutely we'll take it, because we really have these visions and goals set on paper. We're just going through each step along the way. But we really want to focus a lot of it on the development for the next phase of product, but also the other big ticket items would, of course, be the marketing and the sales processes, because they will take a big chunk of those expenses.
Okay.
So development is done within the team of 5.
That's correct.
Okay, so you're doing the development, and you're not getting any developers outside the team.
Correct. For the time being, Dimitri, we don't have a need to. Yeah, but eventually.
Oh, it's amazing. It's great.
Yeah, it really is. It's really fantastic.
And in your vision to scale, what do you think lies in front of you? I mean, okay, you will onboard seafarers and crewing and manning companies and shipping companies and whatever. Is there more?
Yes, absolutely. There has to be more, right? So I guess I could break this into two parts. So at least for the next phase here, and at least the next 6 months, like I mentioned, we want to expand into India. We want to go expand into the European countries where there's a huge influx of seafarers themselves out there. So that is currently our focus point on top of the market share and generating revenue with some clients. In the next 3 years timeframe, 1 to 3 years, we aim to be the largest maritime network, and then be a big source for industry insights. So we're already monitoring job demand, we understand the workforce, we understand what they're capable of, so we want to be an expertise in that field. And we talk like a 10-year time frame. We see tenure as being an industry leader for managing careers in industries where any credentialed professional exists, and then be a #1 data source for those insights. So that's our long-term vision for the corporation or the organization.
Okay, and where's the AI?
It's getting there. we've
you have to
explored
have
blockchain.
some AI, right?
Yeah, it's a sexy buzzword.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the best buzzword is blockchain. We've gone through an incubator to kind of incorporate it for security.
That also helps.
Course. Yeah, we thought so.
Yeah, it's there on your video as well about using blockchain. But so can you run us through how you use that? I mean, how are you planning to use that, or what was the incubate about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wish I was the most informed and knowledgeable blockchain. It still goes beyond my head. But at the gist of it, it's a security layer, right? It's a verification against the ledger. It's to ensure that everyone says this is green, and that there's no real way to add any other risk exposure. And because that's what maritime really falls on, risk mitigation, right? How do we reduce risk, whether in an asset, a personnel? So the whole risk factor, it plays a huge part in this whole value prop as well. We want to ensure that anything that could be of, governments have a lot of fines, right? And we know maritime, you spill oil, you kill a bird, it could be really bad news. So it's the same thing on the personnel end. We want to ensure that we kind of keep things as at least risky for anyone if they're going to be handling these very industrial pieces of machinery.
Yeah, true. I think the approach you started off with Philippines. I think that's the world's biggest manning market. I mean, second to nobody actually. I mean, you've got India, then you've got Eastern Europe. So I think the approach path, the path that you're taking is spot on. You pretty much addressed about what your short-term goals of the company is and what the long-term goals are. Is there anything that you look back in terms of like Dimitris asked about AI and things like that? Is there something that you would have thought you would have implemented right from the start in terms of you're talking about insights? Insights a big thing. That's something you can really monetize on. So how are you actually planning to implement that now at the next stage? That's something. I mean, I don't know if I'm coming across right or if I'm able to pick your brain on it. But if you want to provide insights, what kind of insights? One, and then two, based on what platform or where are you getting the data from? Right now, you're doing it because it's. Forgive me if I'm being frank, but the data is less right now in terms of what you're able to gather. But what happens when you go global and you've got to automate that data traffic in and out? So, have you thought of what that stage is going to be and what that vision is going to be?
We absolutely have. And, that's a big part of understanding, what we can do now, and then why we also want to explore fundraising. The fundraising can help bring on additional members and talent, those that are much more knowledgeable in, say, machine learning and analytics, And so as we continue to keep growing and having more data collected, we need to do, like Dimitri said, get the sexy machine learning on, and that will help derive the insights. And there's a lot of data out there. It's publicly on the websites, it's on company job boards. You can kind of determine the health of a company based on if they're hiring seasons. If it's seasonal or they're hiring a lot of people, there's probably a lot of growth potential. If they're not, that can say something about the company. When it comes to a lot of demographic statistics on industry health, they always say that we are short this many professionals for maritime, for the medical industry. So then that itself can help kind of push those agendas to say, we need to start training and encouraging more people in these fields. So it's a lot of insights of this that we foresee in those analytics. But of course, that's going to take, hiring our first employee, for example, and then giving us the pathway towards that eventual goal. So it's definitely a work in progress. And I think from what we've collected thus far, we have a decent understanding of what's happening. But like you mentioned, it has to be organized data that you can have some insight. So we're getting there, and it is in our next phases. But right now, we really want to focus on that, the generating revenue and finally getting some more clients on board.
Just to understand, because you're talking about the data that you're collecting, and of course, data is black gold today, and it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us some insights about your current demographics? So currently, I'm on an island in Greece where a lot of captains and first officers come from. Have you seen the people that are using your app being more on the officer side? On what kind of demographics have you already identified?
Yeah, no, great question, Dimitri. So at least from a US perspective, we have the Maritime Academy that churn out a lot of, unlimited licensed officers, right? So from the start, we have a lot of friends that we were able to get on board, get their, get their support. And what we realize now is, as we've been collecting data and getting more users signed on, we also have a very huge inland coastal market, right? A lot of those that don't need to have unlimited licenses, that are, a tugboat, more inland boats, smaller vessel sizes. And we're seeing a lot of activity in that space. And it makes the most sense. Most US flagged vessels aren't deep sea going, they are more offshore inland based. So we understand how, and we're starting to see what the market of the US looks like, what types of licenses are held. We're seeing some very unique licenses as well here and there. And if we kind of compare it to, say, with the Canadian market, the US, we don't see polar endorsements. There's no need. We don't really have icebreakers. In Canada, yes, you see that. So it fits that demographic, just depending on those geographies and those business operations that those countries kind of operate within. So for us, we're seeing a lot of more of those, the hawse-piper route. And for them, that is really where we feel what we provide will really assist them, because as they accumulate sea time, as they accumulate those hours and those trainings, their flow for license upgrades, the world is theirs to take. And that's something we really are keen on providing them a path to say, do you want to go to the engine side? Then you need to, you're already here. If you take this course, accumulate the sea time, you can achieve this certification as well. And it's that education. And a lot of these rules are buried in these thick books, and we want to simplify it. We want to make sure that the professionals out there know what their options are and kind of go towards an area which they are passionate about. So that's exciting for us.
It's absolutely exciting. I wish there was something like this for me as well.
Well, let's build it.
No, I mean, I mean, correctly said. I mean, you're talking not just deck officers and engine officers. You're talking about a whole breed of new maritime, professionals coming in. You're talking about data science professionals coming into the maritime space. There was recently an ad about electrotechnical officers. That's a new rank. It's been slated by the STCW. So you're talking about a new breed of officers and maritime professionals coming into the industry. You're talking about the ratings as well. That's a whole that's the bulk of the market. The officers and the engineers are not. The bulk of the market are the ratings and the lower stuff. So so I think you guys are on a brilliant path, and all the best and best luck to you guys. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant path. Sorry.
No, so I was going to say, like, at the same time, we're seeing a lot of renewable energy, right? And a lot of offshore. That has also spurred up a lot of these new ratings. And so that's a really, for us, that's another space we're really just kind of keeping an eye on too when it comes to the market.
There is an exodus of talent from the oil and gas space into the renewable energy space. That's something you can track, and that's something you can guide professionals, because there is going to be that over the next 10, 15, 20 years. For sure. So I think that is one movement you guys can track using this platform and based on your insights. So shifting focus slightly to the personal side of things, again, addressing to the audience and people who are going to listen to this, entrepreneurs, and hopefully people who are looking to start up their own company. Are you guys all still working in another job while you're doing this, or is there complete focus on this in terms of financial engagement and time and things like that?
Yeah, no doubt. For me personally, this is a side project that I do when I have the time after my responsibilities and my full-time gig are accomplished. And so I think for any entrepreneur out there, it's a lot of grit, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of long days, and it's unfortunately it's the way that it kind of is, because if you really feel that you have this dream, you really have to put in the time. So it's been a big learning curve how to prioritize my days, my personal life, taking calls at night too with my co-founders. And so it's been a very cool factor, and it's been rewarding thus far. It has been extremely rewarding. And I definitely want to change. I wish things would be easier. But for the most part, for me personally, this is more my side thing that I do support my team with after my core responsibilities are done. For some others on the team, they are doing this full time. They have the luxury to do so. And so that also has been extremely helpful to be in a place where we are right now with a lot of the development.
In terms of funding, I mean, you've already said that you are looking at that. Is there already a plan in place? Do you already have something that you put up? Is there not something as serious as a term sheet, but maybe a pitch deck or something that you're ready to offer to investors in terms of what you're able to divest and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have been refining some pitch decks. We have been approached by some, incubators and accelerators themselves. We felt that there wasn't a good sync up in the culture or kind of what they can do to support us. We're already niche enough, and we're also tackling not the sexiest part of the industry, of course. So there is kind of this disconnect of what they may have felt we need versus what we actually desire. When it comes to funding, we would love to have the first $1 million in funding, and then we could definitely use that to focus on hiring some new talent, as Dimitri and we were talking about on the machine learning side, for the analytics spaces, for and experts in marketing, right? And we want to really push the name out there. At the same time, we want to help kind of keep getting this platform developed, get it more, I guess you could say, more broad in a sense, so that, like I mentioned, the goal is to get into other industries. So our pitch deck is there tackles what we want to do in the next 5 to 10 years, what the vision would be. We have not, like I mentioned earlier, we haven't really gone out to seek it just yet. But I would say in the next 9 months or so, we really want to start getting to that stage and have conversations and meet with some investors and see if there's some type of alignment there where we can take this to the next level.
Brilliant, awesome, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, and to end off the startup talk, what's your recommendation, advice, whatever you like to call it, opinion on a budding entrepreneur, you know, who wants to enter this industry or any industry for that matter?
I think for anyone, whether they are from a tech background or not, I was not, you know, and for me there was a huge learning curve, but the idea still was in my head. And I think for anyone that, wherever they come from, if you have the idea and you feel super strong about it, you know, find the right people to surround yourself with. I think that's the first thing you should do. And then think through the idea. And then when you've already thought it through, think it over again. And that really helped us kind of figure, where do we want to start and focus on? And so once you're on agreement, you thought through it 10 times and you thought, you know, this is exactly what you want, commit. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for a lot of entrepreneurs, is that commitment, right? It does take a lot of energy and time. So you have to commit, and you have to start being more structured in your ways, your goals. And at the same time, find a great mentor, you know, go network and find other like-minded individuals, because they will put you in the right headspace and give you advice, whether it's something you need or you didn't need to hear. And you'll hear a lot of things you don't want to hear, but they are actually good for you, because those things will help you take you to the next milestone in those journeys. So that's would be my advice for all those aspiring entrepreneurs themselves, and never give up. Never give up.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Adil. Hopefully next time we'll get to see the whole team.
Yes.
Hopefully a pitch deck.
Yeah. we got it. I'll send it over.
A pitch meeting where we'll get to see all 5 of you, and hopefully our whole team as well. I mean, Chris, you know, but Prithvi as well. And Dimitris, anything from your end to kind of sum up this?
I have lots of questions and very little time.
Same here. I've got a lot of ideas floating. I have a lot of ideas floating in the air, but we'll take this offline.
We'll take it offline. I'm definitely excited for it.
Thanks a lot, Adil, for your time, and thanks for being part of the first series of talks of FairLeads.
Thank you very much, Adil.
And
my pleasure. Thank you both.
Thank you so much, Dimitris. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for this platform. And let's get Tenure its first funding.
Let's
Seed
get
and
it.
Series A.
Let's go. Series A. Let's get the unicorn status.
Pre-seed, seed, and Series A.
Exactly. Just bring it all in one.
All right.
I guess I want to end a quick message just for all those viewers who are, you know, seafarers, etc. You know, we'd love to have your feedback and you know, take a look at Tenure and see exactly what we can all do for you. And if you have your own ideas or something that you feel that you are unsure of, because there's a lot of, you know, red tape around in the industry, you know, we would love to assist in any way we can. So
hey Adil, actually getting to that, I mean, is there some kind of customization that you're doing for each market, let's say for Philippines and for Canada, and something that when you're approaching the Indian or the South Asian market, is there some kind of or is there somebody, like, I've downloaded the app, I mean, I haven't actually gone through it with from a seafarer's eye purely. I've looked at it from another eye. But let's say if I'm sending it out to a bunch of people in the South Asian region or the Middle East region, can I just ask them to download the app and start using it immediately, or is there some customization that's pending?
Yeah, there is still some customization pending for it to be available to download the app. But we do have our website, and the website is active in all the countries around the world, and those are already catered to those geographic regions. So say like the job board, in India, it will specifically show a lot of opportunities within the Asian geographic zone. So that's a good place to start. We are looking for assistance in getting these things live and understanding the credentialing there in these countries, even India as well. So if anybody can help, we would love to talk to you.
Yeah. Don't worry.
You got a captain here. I'm going to call you.
Done. Thank you so much, Adil, again. Thank you, Dimitris. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Good day, good evening.
Have a great night, you both. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Adil.